Welcome to the Building Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Don Tarjanskis, and join us as we explore the world of construction. Each episode, we welcome a guest that shares career highlights and career advice, and hopefully inspires the next generation of construction professionals.
Welcome to another edition of the Building Your Career podcast. Pleased to say I'm joined by John McIntyre, who's the project director at Merit. Very excited to have him on as a guest. I know someone who's passionate about getting the younger generation into the construction industry and really nurturing young talent as well. So I'll let John take the floor. So as we always say, John, if you could describe to us your kind of current role and just discuss a little bit more about what Merit do as a business.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. Really interesting to get the invite. I think what you're doing is really good. Nice to have the opportunity. So as you say, I'm a project director for a company called Merit, based in Northumberland, Northeast England, Cromlington. That's where our head office is, and we've got 2 factories as well in Cromlington. Currently extending one of the factories, phase 1, which I'm overseeing, and we've got another extension to another factory for our manufacturing capabilities. As project director, I'm the operational lead for all the projects that I oversee. And that can be anything from tender all the way through to handover. Merit are a technology construction company trying to do things slightly different with a lot of off-site manufacturing. We manufacture 75 to 90% of our buildings off-site, which is trying to buck the trend of productivity, really. The construction industry in British manufacturing as a whole is sort of flatlined over the last couple of decades, and our CEO Tony Wells has recognised that, and he's trying to buck that trend to try and increase our productivity to make us stand out against our competitors. So that's where our factories come into play, which are really sort of key assets to the business. We have a platform design, which is a standard design that we offer to clients, which streamlines the design process, the manufacturing process, and then the site installation process. So we can design and manufacture buildings a lot quicker than our competitors, which is really interesting stuff compared to the traditional construction model, which is very exciting for me because it's something that is new to me in my career. We do a lot of work in the healthcare sector, a lot of NHS clients, and the biotech sector as well. We've got a project on at Solihull Hospital, which is a new theatre block. We've got a project for Moderna, which is an innovation and technology centre, which is the first of its kind, which will be looking at vaccines and things like that. We've got Berwick Hospital, which is a brand new hospital up in Berwick, which is quite a big project, and most of that is off-site manufacturing. So as we're coming out of the ground, the piling, the steel frame, we're manufacturing and prefabricating the internals and the all of the M&E installation. So it's quite a very quick and streamlined process. We've also got a big project on down in Stevenage for Autolus, which is a CAR T cell manufacturing facility, which really sold what we are trying to do. And there was a very quick turnaround on the installation of the internals and the M&E equipment on that project, and that really showcased what Merit are all about. Mm-hmm. And we've also got a project up in Grangemouth as well for Pyramal, which is an ADC manufacturing facility. So it's really exciting times for Merit with a lot of work in the pipeline as well. So it's positive outlook.
Sounds great. Sounds like you've got a lot of kind of projects in the go and a lot of live projects. And I think you touched on something really crucial there. And I know we have touched on it briefly on the podcast before, but it'd be interesting to hear your take in terms of the differences between your traditional construction method and the off-site construction method, and also what are the benefits of using the off-site construction method, maybe for some of our listeners who have heard a little bit about both but don't really know what the benefits are of the off-site method. So could you just give us a little bit of an insight from your side?
Yeah. There's a massive driver from Tony, our CEO, to take away all on-site works, plumbing works, electrical works, and to get everything in the factory and to get everything prefabricated. Massive advantages in terms of time. and cost, because it's a standard design that we offer. So we've got an R&D department who are always looking at the next phase and the next kind of version and rollout of our products. We've got PAMs, pre-assembled modules, and pods that we build, and they're all done in the factory. So there's a massive time and cost saving for clients, because, as I say, when we're coming out the ground with the piling and the steel and the frame, we're fabricating and manufacturing the internals at the same time. So once the frame's up, you deliver your PAMs and your pods to site. They then get installed, and within a week, most of your building is ready. These pods are watertight, and then you can wrap your building with your envelope, and you're almost watertight. And that there's some massive quality savings as well, because everything gets checked and double checked at the factory, and then during commissioning phase it's then checked again. So a lot of streamlining, and again your productivity goes up because you're taking away the site works, you're taking away any reworks, because the quality's already been checked. And it's really exciting stuff. And if you have the capabilities like we do to do that, then it offers the client again some cost savings, but it also brings your facility online a lot quicker. So for clients who manufacture drugs, you bring in these lines on a lot quicker, so then you can start rolling out the drugs, and you're saving lives a lot quicker as well.
Brilliant. And I think you kind of touched on it a little bit there. We've had people from a sustainability background on this podcast as well. And I think one of the key things for me about the offsite manufacturing is that, there's a lot of materials that tend to get wasted. How many times have you walked past a building site and you've seen skips and skips and skips full of just material that is brand new? I almost feel like getting my car and driving around and picking it up myself, because it's brand new and it just gets wasted. So with the offsite side of things, you don't have, all that waste, or cutting things to size and not quite fitting and throwing things away. So there's a really huge sustainability benefit on there as well.
We have a big driver for a zero carbon emissions policy as well.
Brilliant.
So that's our standard policy really. And as we've got a platform design, the designs are already there, and they get issued to the factory, and they already know what they're making. So you do version 1, version 2, version 3, and the guys in the factory know what they're doing, and it becomes a lot slicker process. And as you say, we're building these time and time again, so there's almost a zero waste policy as well. And sustainability is a massive thing for us, because we want to stand out and be different from other traditional construction companies, and I think that's key for us in how to do that.
Yeah, and it's crucial in this day and age as well. For that to be the main focus of the business is brilliant, in my opinion. But if we could go back to the very start of your career, then what kind of inspired you to pursue a career in construction, and how did you first get started?
I think I sort of fell into it really. I did a degree, and then I didn't really know what to do. And I had a conversation with my dad, and he suggested that I did a master's in project management, which, in hindsight, probably one of the best decisions we've made, because that then opened up a lot of doors into the construction industry. And I think you can use project management across the board within a number of different sectors. So I did that master's, and I remember writing my dissertation in the house, and I got a phone call from a lady called Marie Buckingham, who worked for a recruitment agent, and she offered me the chance to go for an interview for a grad scheme with GB Building Solutions at the time, national contractor based in the northeast, and I was offered that job, and I've never really looked back since then. I think the construction industry is so varied and so wide. You're kind of involved in everything. You're in touch with the council, you're in touch with planning, you're in touch with ecology, site investigation in the ground. You're coming out the ground with the steel frame, concrete frame, different structures. It touches upon everything in terms of infrastructure, water, telecoms. So there's a vast array of skills that you develop over the years working in construction. And I think sometimes construction gets a bit of a bad rep, but it touches upon every single person within the country, the schools you go to, the cinemas, the supermarkets. No matter where you go, you're involved in construction somehow, and it's such a massive array of people as well. The supply chain, all the way from clients through the principal contractors, subcontractors, and then the suppliers. It's such a crucial industry to the run of the country, really. And I've never really looked back. I've sort of did the grad scheme, then worked my way up site manager, project manager, and then I moved into oil and gas with AMEC when the sort of the recession hit. And that was a really good insight as well, because I got a chance to go offshore, which I never would have done if I hadn't have moved over into that sort of area, oil and gas engineer, and did a lot of shutdowns, petrochemical, and things like that on Teesside, and then moved back into the northeast, back into construction in the sort of latter years, and then ended up at Merit. But I love construction, and what I really like seeing is things come out the ground. Love being able to stand back and think, we've built that. And you're changing landscapes as well, and you can always drive past it and see what you've built. In my early days, I built a hotel in Newcastle, and as you drive over the Tyne Bridge, I can still see it now, which is still quite nice, which is as sad as that is. But yeah, it's nice to change the landscape and know that you've altered it.
And it clearly comes across, your kind of passion for the industry as well. And you touched on a really important point there, is that, a lot of people when they first start out in the industry are really wowed by, it's not just the final product that you see in the outside. It can be everything that's below the ground. It can be the ecology, it can be the site, it can be the sustainability, it can be different methods of construction, can be different sectors that you work in. So it's not just the finished product, it can be the externals, the internals, everything below ground, even dealing with the local community and the local council as well. It's you learn a lot just by being involved in the industry, and it's naturally you have to learn everything about the project. It's not just coming at it from one angle of, oh, it's just a building and that's it. It's just so much more than that.
It is. It's not just about digging holes and in the road outside dirty and things like that. It's not. As I said before, it does get a bad rep, but it's integral to the running of the country, to renovations and building new facilities, and then it's the legacy afterwards. It's about what your building does,
Yeah.
whether it's schools or healthcare or hospitals or gene therapy or something. It's what those buildings then do and add value to the community. And I think it is integral. And there's a lot of skilled people as well in the industry. And I think, unfortunately, we're heading for a skills shortage in terms of labour and in terms of managers. And it's just about pulling together, I suppose, and advertising the construction industry in a good light, which is, again, this podcast does, which is great.
Are you a job seeker, tired of endlessly scrolling through job boards with no success? Has your job search hit a dead end? Well, we're here to tell you there's another way. Here at Quest Personnel, we offer a variety of free resources to help job seekers just like you. Our team of expert recruiters is here to help you through every step of the job search process, from CV writing to interview techniques. But that's not all. We also offer exclusive access to workshops, networking events, and other job roles that you simply won't find anywhere else. So what are you waiting for? Get in touch now on our website, questpersonnel.co.uk.
Perfect. Well, so one of our key questions is, if you could kind of turn back the hands of time and give yourself just one piece of advice when you first started out in the construction industry, with all the knowledge that you know now, what piece of advice would you give your younger self just starting out?
It's a great question, and there's a few, but if I had to pick one, it would be become really comfortable at asking questions.
Yeah.
Because I used to get really, really frustrated as a grad that I didn't know. I didn't know what we were talking about. I didn't understand. And it was frustrating to see seasoned project managers and site managers understand what was going on in the room. And I didn't like not being in control. But the big secret is that you're not supposed to know. You're supposed to not know. You're supposed to find out. You're supposed to ask questions. So get really comfortable with asking questions. And that's a lot. It's easier said than done, because you've got to have the confidence to be able to put your hand up. But a lot of the time when you do, I think there's two things that happen. There'll be someone else in the room that doesn't know the answer, who's thinking that question. And I think if you ask questions, people can see that you're eager. They can see that you want to learn, and you'll get that back from people as well. People will take you under the wing. Most of the time, people will want to help. You'll very rarely get someone who'll shut the door in your face. And you've got to keep asking those questions, and that's where that's where your education comes from, getting involved and asking questions. I used to just go on site and just talk to people, just introduce myself, who I was, graduate. I'm just learning. Can you explain to me what you're doing and why you're doing it that way? And people actually want to get engaged because they want to show off what they're doing. They want to show off why they're doing it that way. And I think as men, sometimes it's difficult to have those conversations. But once you get engaged and people know that you're not here to snoop around and kind of catch up on them, and you're just interested in what they're doing, people are really receptive to that.
Do you know what? It's a really, really good point. Is just open up the conversation by saying, "I am a graduate." Just open that up, and naturally, people will go into the mode of, "Okay, brilliant. I would like to give this person information and help them out." So that's a really good point. Maybe for a little bit of a podcast first, it sounded like you had other things that you would advise your younger self. So as a podcast first, what else did you have in mind then?
I suppose the next one would be you have to work hard as well. You've really got to apply yourself. It's not you don't just want to be a passenger. You've got, and if you're that graduate and you're the person who's just come in the door, just get involved in everything you can. Be as humble as you possibly can. And if go around and make everyone a cup of tea, make everyone a cup of coffee, get to know people and just, but you've also got to have that balance as well. You don't want to be working 60, 70 hours a week. You've got to have that life and that release outside of work as well. But really apply yourself and get involved in everything that you can. If you've got, I was never immune to getting on a brush or walking around and picking up rubbish and trying to lead by example, really, and just get involved. And if you're asking questions and you're getting involved and you're showing people that you're trying to add value and applying yourself, you can't really go wrong, and you'll be looked after.
Okay, brilliant. And touching on the kind of education route as well, there's lots of different routes in, and we've had loads of different answers about the best way to get into the construction industry. So what do you see as the kind of the main pathways into the construction industry? Is there any kind of formal qualifications or training that you would recommend, or where do people start out if they truly want to get involved?
I think if you want to be on the white collar side in terms of management and site management, project management, quantity surveying and things like that, a degree in that specialised area is probably the best route to go. And if you can get into an organisation who will pay for you to go to university as well as learning, for me that would be the ideal scenario. There was a few graduates who I've managed before and tried to mentor before as part of a previous role, and they were having a little bit of a whinge and they wanted a pay rise, and I said, you don't realise how lucky you are that this organisation is paying for your degree. They're paying for you to be at work, and you're having not just the learning at your degree at university, you've also got on the job experience as well. That's the ideal scenario. So that kind of comes back to just being humble and recognising that how lucky you are in terms of the position that you've got. And in terms of the blue collar side, apprenticeships are certainly the way forward if you're not fortunate enough to go to university. Again, there's a massive skills shortage in terms of electricians, plumbers, joiners, and all those types of things. But I think the training and the education are two separate kind of sides. Obviously you can get training all day long. It's like driving a car. Just because you passed your test, it doesn't mean you know how to drive, and it's the same for university. If you go to university and you get a degree, all you've demonstrated is you can learn. You're not necessarily competent yet. You need that experience to come with it. So that's why the education is I'm still learning things now. Joining Merit has been a wonderful and fabulous opportunity for me, because there's areas and things that I'm learning every day, which is great. And I think if you've always got that inquisitive mind and you're always learning, then that's what makes life in the construction industry so exciting, because there's no 2 days that are the same. Site is always changing. You're not sitting in that one office. You've got a steel frame going up, then it's wrapped and it's different, and then you're inside and you're working. So it's really exciting for me. I really enjoy it.
And God, this is going to sound really cheesy now, but for me, it's much more than a job. It is like literally a lifestyle and something that I'm genuinely interested in. So to give an example, I was literally just looking on Google Maps at a site which is if you break it down, it's a hole in the ground with pipes in it. And I got so excited about how big this project was, the length of the pipe that was being used. So I think, if you are starting out in the industry and you're not sure if it's kind of for you, but just go with it. Just get excited about the projects. And as soon as you do and connect and have that genuine excitement and connection with the projects, that's when, as you say, you'll be using that inquisitive mindset and asking those people. And that's when you're going to be getting all that information inbound to you, where you think, okay, this is much more than what I originally thought it was, which is just building. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a really crucial point there in terms of appreciate what the company's doing for you, but it's up to you to go out there and ask the questions about what else the company's doing. Yes. And what they're building, and never be afraid to ask about what the plan is of the company and not just about your particular project that you're working on. Because if you start having questions and involvement in the bigger picture of the company, that's when you start learning about what the business is, what their kind of work they're bidding on, what the future of the business is going to be. And it really does show off that you are more than just a number in the business. You're thinking of what the future of the business is and can get involved in that side of things as well. So yeah, I think that's crucial there too, really.
Yeah, I'd agree, definitely, and it shows that you're invested in that business. As you say, you're not just a name and a number. You're taking an interest, and you understand the direction that the company's going in as well. And then you can be a part of that, and you can mold. And I kind of use extreme ownership and accountability. If you want to go somewhere, then you have to then apply yourself, show people that you can add value, because no one's just going to come and give you a promotion or a pay rise for nothing. If you can really show people that you have to get people to ask the question, do I want Dom to be on my team? Do I want John to be on my team? If the answer is yes, people will look after you and people will want to coach you and mentor you. I don't think you're ever too old or too young to get that. There's always something you don't know. But it's about the application and really applying yourself. And some days it's difficult because the weather and it's raining and it's windy and it's snowing, or you've had a bad week and you don't know how to fix a problem. But they're the challenges, and the really successful people get over them and then get on to the next one.
Brilliant. And just for our final question as well, this time has gone far too quickly. Just for our final question, with the Chartered Institute of Builders publishing a report recently to say that we need 250,000 more people in the construction industry by 2027 just to sustain the industry. This is more a question and more advice to maybe senior management who haven't thought about it, but what can people do to both attract and nurture young talent coming into the industry?
It's definitely an industry issue rather than an organisational issue. But we've got to show off what we do. We're very, very good in this country to criticise and say this is wrong and that's wrong, but we don't often shout about how brilliant we are at the things that we do and the buildings that we build and everything. Everyone, as I said before, everyone's affected by construction, all the way from designers to the council to the planners to the guys who get their hands dirty every day. And I think the government need to help out with that in terms of apprenticeship schemes. Merit are really good at recruiting directly out of university. We've got a very young team around us with some really experienced heads. And it is about each organisation kind of takes that responsibility to get involved with universities to showcase what they can do. So organisations are attractive to people in university, and these people want to then work. I know when I was at university, there was road shows and things like that. But each company only had maybe 2 or 3 positions, and if you were in a year of 200, 300, it was very difficult to get those positions. And again, that all just comes down to funding. So better links with universities would help, and we should really get round and have opportunities to visit construction projects and kind of get a bit of a buzz around the construction industry, because as I described before, it is an exciting industry, and every day is a different day. Rather than there's a lot of people who get up in the morning and don't want to go to work. I'm very lucky that I've always enjoyed what I've done, and I think that's a gift in itself. And I think that's really, I think the construction industry has given me that, because every day is different. Every day has been a challenge, and it's been really enjoyable. But as I say, individuals have to apply themselves. It's not just a one-way ticket for organisations to pay loads of money if you're not then applying yourself. If you are listening and you're of a younger age and you're looking to get into the construction industry, pick the phone up, write letters, email, get in touch with recruiters. You've really got to take that ownership and accountability for your own future and get yourself out there. And even if you're just doing 6 weeks in the summer as voluntary work, getting experience on sites and things like that, then that's definitely the way forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is just taking the ownership on yourself, because I'm showing my age here, but when I got my first architecture job as part of my degree, I literally sent out about 80 letters to architecture practices in London. I put my CV in there, put a first class stamp on it. I was a skint student at the time, so that really dented my pocket, but it was just send out, my CV to about 80 different architectural practices, and I ended up getting a job. So, it's maybe not just relying on stuff like emails and not hearing back and getting disheartened. It's, just be proactive, make that call out to market, speak to people, get involved. There's lots of online courses for free. There's lots of stuff on YouTube that's free where you can just expand your knowledge. So use what's available to you.
Definitely. Yeah, I think with the younger generation, everything's handed on a plate. The information's always there. It's on your phone. Everything's now, and I think people can sometimes get a little bit frustrated if they're not getting those results very quickly. But yeah, it's about the application and the ownership and accountability and getting yourself out there and advertising yourself, exactly as you've described, really.
Yeah, perfect. Well, John, thank you so much for being a guest. It's been a genuinely very exciting episode and some real good advice there as well. So thank you very much. And listeners, until next time, we'll see you later.
Thank you for joining us on the Building Your Career podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our guest and learning about the different career paths available. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe so we can reach even more listeners. And if anyone wants any free CV advice or simply wants to know the options available to them, don't hesitate to get in touch.